Welcome back to the Invest in Yourself podcast. Today I'm joined by poker machine crime enforcer Paul Schiffbauer. During Paul's life, he served in the United States Army, then went on to working as an enforcer for organized poker machine operations. He even went on to running his own poker machine industry as well. Paul details out how there was a gray area back when he was running poker machines and how he evaded law enforcement for so much time. He also talks about one of the big players he worked with named Sonny. Please subscribe to my channel for more interviews like this, and without further ado, let's get into Paul's story. Hey Paul, how you doing, man?
Good. How are you? Glad to be here, Adrian.
Good. Well, I appreciate you taking out some time to come on my show, man. You got a really good story that we're going to get into today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I think the best way to really get into your story is to start from the beginning. I mean, what was your early life like?
My early life was pretty normal. My plans as a youth growing up, being in school, I pretty much wanted to be an FBI agent, wanted to be a G-man. And, was a national honor student up to like 10th grade. And of course, it wasn't cool in 11th and 12th grade to be smart. So I kind of screwed up there a little bit. So, and my goal was still the same, to be an FBI agent. And so I went in the military and I got a job in the military. I picked something that maybe could transfer to the federal government, maybe in some kind of capacity. I basically was a gunsmith. So I figured, working with weapons, learning gunsmithing, maybe if I can't be a field agent, maybe ballistics. So, to go through the Army, get out, get ready to go to college. And I figured, let me go to the police department. Let me try to get in the police department first. I'll go to school, then I'll transition to the FBI. But, went through all the, Baltimore County Police, City Police, State Police, all the, PT tests, the verbal written tests, interviews. And, a couple of them, I made it through everything, but it was like an 18-month, 2-year wait. There's a freeze back then. This is back in 1989, going into 1990. So I'm like, okay, I'm kind of on hold. And at the time, I'm working at a hotel where I met my now wife. She was my boss. She was my boss. So as I'm working there, we're dating and all. And then she's, you do the dating thing. You meet the family, and I start going to all these functions with her. And as I start going to these functions, there's we always went to this one house. It was a brother-in-law, my future brother-in-law. The house is like 7,000 square feet. It was huge, water fountains. I mean, it was. And he was there, the family members were there, and there's always another guy there named Phil, who later down the road, he walked my wife down the aisle, and my kids always called him Uncle Phil to the day he died. He was a Baltimore County judge. He was a liquor board judge. He'd been out there 23 years. So these guys would kind of congregate by themselves and talk business, and they started inviting me over, and they were asking me questions, and they were fixated on why I wanted to be a cop, FBI, and all. And they knew in the back of their mind that, if you want to be a Fed, you're like squeaky clean, And now then I started learning that my brother-in-law's business, he had a vending company. They had machines, they had poker machines, jukeboxes, pool tables and all. And every time we met, this went on for weeks, they would ask me more questions. And what are my future plans? What if I don't get in? And, so I'm thinking like, maybe he's wants to ask me to work for him or something. So that day came one day when he's checking in the hotel, and he asked me, he's like, hey, Paul, you call me Paulie. He's like, when you get off, I'm like 11 o'clock. So I gone up to his room, and I'm thinking like, I think he's going to, offer me a job. I wasn't sure if I'm going to take it or, so I go up there and we're talking. He's telling me about the business, and he goes, I pool tables, jukeboxes. And I said, we have poker machines. And I said, I'm like, aren't they illegal? Because I'm worried about being a Fed, And
Yeah.
he goes, well, it's a gray area. It's like they're legal to own and operate and put on the streets, but it's only illegal if people get caught gambling on them. Of course, as I got involved in it, that's what they're there for.
That's exactly what they were doing.
You put on the street for gambling. So he's like, asking about when's this police thing going to start and all. I said, well, I'm, trying to go to school part-time, trying to get in the police. I'm working here. I said, it could be 18 months, 2 years. He goes, I tell you what, I'll give you a job. You can come in, move equipment around, help me out. He goes, because my future wife and his wife are sisters, but there's a 20-year difference. So
Wow.
we were young. They were, my wife was like the youngest when everybody left the house.
20 years.
So,
Yeah.
so it was a big difference, and like, and so he's like, oh, you can do me a favor. I'll do you a favor. You can save some money, whatever. And I said, I'm not sure, He goes, well, let me show you something. He opens a briefcase up, and he has like 6 stacks of, stacks of money. they're like $5,000 increments. You had $30,000 in a briefcase. I've never seen $30,000 before in my life anywhere.
Yeah,
Anywhere, maybe on TV.
right.
So he throws me a bundle and he says, "What do you think of that?" I said, "Man, it's more money I ever held in my life." In the Army, I was making $899 a month when I left. That was
Damn,
1989.
big difference.
And then for the hotel, I was making like 225 a week. So I'm like looking at it and he's telling me, I can use you, you'll help me out, whatever and all. And he said, "Tell you what, I'll start you at $35,000 a year." I'm like $35,000 a year. I say, I don't know anything about this business. He's like, "Oh, trust me, you'll help me out. I'm helping you out. Plus, he's playing like his wife wants him to do it to help, his sister out. So I said, all right. So I give him the money back. He says, no, keep it. It's yours. It's a signing bonus. I'm like, okay. So that's how it started. You
Yeah.
know, it was always, if something went sour, and a lot of things went sour in different situations. It was always like, I went out or whatever. It was always like, give me money or, eventually, Phil, when I got married, a year and a half later, Phil paid for the catering hall, the judge, and the catering hall and all the food. And we had 130 people there. And then
Yeah.
Sonny paid for the band, and he went to top Phil, and he paid for my vacation, my honeymoon, which was going to Las Brisas, Mexico at the time. It was like on Robin Leach's top 10. It was number 5 in the world for
Yeah.
vacations, and he's paying for limos, the flight. These guys really were like sinking money into me to keep me in this business.
So you didn't really know Sonny's background?
I knew that he had been in this business 2 years. And he made a lot of money from construction, and he hadn't really worked for a while. And how he got involved in the vending business was Ira, who was his partner. He worked for his father-in-law. His father-in-law owned the business for like 30 years. Like a lot of these guys, these operators at that time, they were entrenched. They were there 30, 40 years, and it was like passed down to the family. Kind of like the mob in the sense, I always say it was organized crime, but not La Costa Nostra, because you just couldn't like walk in and say, "Hey, hire me." Like you had
No.
like I was family. They were
Yeah.
asking me questions for months, like feeling me out, and you had to know somebody in the business, or you had to know them from a young age to get into the business. Like I said, you just didn't
Yeah.
walk it, and even buying in, you just didn't buy in unless you knew somebody. So when Ira's dad or father-in-law was selling it, he said, "I'll sell it," but he didn't want to sell it to him because he couldn't stand his son-in-law. He goes, "If
No.
you get somebody with some money, I'll sell it to you." But the catch was he wanted 500,000 cash down.
Shit.
You know,
That's a
so
lot.
so he knew Sonny had the money, and he knew Sonny, so they got along. At that time, they got along, and Sonny put the money up, and then they agreed. The guy was in his 70s, so he agreed to take another 250,000 over 10 years, incrementally, because he had Social Security and other investments and all. So that was a structured deal. So that's how he got involved in that business. And after being 2 years in, when he found out that I was dating his sister-in-law and that I wanted to be a Fed, that he's like, man, I can, because we're dealing with $50,000-$60,000 in cash a week.
Yeah,
And
that's a lot.
he never trusted anybody.
No.
So that's why he wanted to bring me on board, because he felt that he could trust me explicitly. And he did eventually, because I was doing a lot of stuff for him.
You think maybe too that he wanted to use you if you were to get into the FBI? What do you think?
There's been movies made about that. I ultimately didn't pursue that career because he started me at 35 grand, and the city police, who had hired me after I was there a year working for Sonny, and the starting salary was 21, and I was making 2,000 more a month because I was doing collections in. I'm thinking,
Yeah.
like, why would I take that job?
No
Because,
way.
no way.
Yeah.
And then we also had, we had run-ins with I was 3 months in, we had, my first run-in with the police. I'm running with this one guy, Rob, and Rob's this big black guy. He's like 6'3", 380, big dude. And Sonny's like, you move his ass. He used to move too slow. You get him to move. And I'm like, dude, no one's moving Rob. Rob moves when Rob wants to move, So we're going my first day running with Rob, 3 months into this, we get a call. We all had radios, and we always were really careful about what you said on the phone. If you didn't know somebody, we didn't talk around. Because you never know. It was like I always say, I use the analogy, it was like playing cops and robbers, but real life, because you never knew, because they always were trying to bust us or
Yeah.
find out something, or, and But so anyway, I'm running with Rob. We get a call on the radio. Everybody hears it. Ira, Sonny. We got hit. And I'm looking around like, we got hit. What the hell? One of her joints, one of the spots. It was the Thunderbird Lounge, and they're like, she's like, the cops are there. We have 15 minutes to get down there. They're gonna bust them up. And that was a good thing, because usually the cops didn't call you. They just smash the hell out of the machines with sledgehammers, totally ruin them. The machine worth $2,000, and then say, hey, by the way, we raided this place. Come clean your mess up. That's how they usually did it. But this time,
did they take the money too?
Oh yeah. So when we get down there, they're tearing the place up. They're smashing the ceiling tiles out. They're knocking sugar over, coffee over from his coffee machine. They're spilling drink bottles. They were fucking the place up because they wanted the guys. What they do is they take every penny in the bar. First they want all the money in these machines. We walked in. Who has the keys? Rob went over. He opened the bottom doors. They dumped the money and they counted. We got there in 10 minutes. We're close by. They didn't smash machines up. Would have cost us $4,000 for 2 machines. They start counting that money. So they're tearing this guy's place up because he won't give up his drawer where he has his money. Now, mind you, when they do these raids, it's usually early in the morning. Like as soon as you walk in, they're ready right behind you. Like they're around the corner. They're coming in. Damn. And they're like, "Where's your bank at? Where's your money? Oh, I don't have any money here. I don't have any money here." So they're like, "Okay, guys," and the uniform cops are going around knocking down these white ceiling tiles. And it's like it's snowing in there. Like all the flakes are falling down. I'm thinking, like, what the fuck is going on? Just cops just and they're laughing, they're knocking bottles over. And
it's having fun.
Yeah, the one pulls me aside, goes, "Who are you?" I'm like, I just work, give me your ID. I give him my ID. And I'm like nervous, like, man, I never had interaction like this. I've been pulled over for tickets and stuff, but yeah, who are you? What do you do? I said, and Sonny had told Rob, tell Paul, you just move equipment around. That's all you do. You don't know anything. So that was the line. I just move equipment around. I don't do anything. I don't know anything. They're using these machines for illegal gambling. You know that. That's why you're in here. I'm like, I just move equipment around. I said, officer, I just started. I'm just doing what I'm told.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, you better find another job. That's what this. That's my first experience with the police. So he lets me go, and then Rob finally says, because they're tearing this place up, and Jarrell Robinson in the place, he's yelling and screaming. He's cussing these cops out like they're nothing, and they're ignoring them because they're smashing the hell out of the bar. I think it made it worse. So Rob yells in the floor drain. So they go over, pick the floor drain up. He had a mason jar with $1,500 in there. That's where he hid his money at night. That was his bank.
Yeah,
my safe. He hid it down there in the floor. So he's screaming at Rob at that point. So they count the money. So this is how it works. $3,000 from the poker machine. They give him a ticket, the bar owner, $1,500 cash from the his bank. So they took every money. If he had a safe, they cleaned it out. I mean, we had places. As one guy left like $5,000 in his safe, and they hit him. And they got all the money, the poker machines, all the money. We said, look, you can't keep that kind of money on premise. Keep it in your trunk of your car.
So they take anything
money, because they associate the bar with illegal gambling.
Oh, what the hell, man?
So then what happens is, how it works out, they roll out, they just took the boards out, basically the computer boards of the machines. You plug them in, pull them out. They're like $400 or $500. We always had spares because this shit happened a lot.
Yeah.
So Sonny comes down with not even an hour. We plug them in, plug them in, click them back on, boom, machines are up and running. So then, Sonny says, okay, what did he get? Okay, they got $3,000 out of the poker machines. He whips out $1,500. That would have been the guy's half. We make him whole. What did he take? What kind of money did he take from the bank? $1,500. Boom, 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 boom. He's got his $3,000. He got his half the money from the machine. He got all his bank money, and then he had to kick in a little bit for the damages. That's why Rob stopped the shit real quick, because the guy was they were tearing the place up, and we had to pay for that. And then Sonny gives him a business card with a lawyer. Call this lawyer. We're paying for the lawyer, court fees, missed work, whatever it is. You're closed. That's the deal. We're not charged. They get charged basically with a misdemeanor gambling charge, slap on the wrist. Because we had places that got popped 5, 6, 7 times. They never went to jail, never closed them up. It just was boom. They were happy because they just take the money. The cops get all the money, and then they're up and running again. So we're in the clear. And on the poker machines, it says for amusement only. Well, that covers us,
I was going to say, I mean, it has to really be profitable for them to put up with it 5 or 7 times, these raids, and just not kick you guys out.
Well, I mean, a lot of these guys, how it works is like the other way Sonny presented to me. He goes, look, we're just like bankers, which was true.
Yeah.
I mean, criminal bankers. Like, you want to buy a bar, you say, if it was just the bar, not the property, say the guy wanted like 300 grand for the business, to buy liquor license the business.
Yeah.
And he wants like 25,000 down. And so the bank's not going to loan a bartender $25,000. So he comes to see people like us and say, hey, I'm looking at Joe's place on Eastern Avenue. We're like, what does he want? 300 grand. He wants 25 down, and I'll pay the rest over time. All they need from us is 25 grand. So we check it out, and we make sure, for one, that there's dozens and dozens and dozens of these vendors, these operators, which, I was one of them with my brother-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
But there's 5. I'm not mimicking, the 5 families, but there was 5 guys, the guys that had the most spots. They always would sit and talk. They had like 85% of the machines through Baltimore County, Baltimore City. So they would always talk if there was any issue would arise, or if somebody was trying to step on their toes. So we would make sure if this bar wasn't, in the hands of any of the other operators. If it was somebody small, we wouldn't give a shit. We'd go in there, take the machines out, put them in the back, and say, tough shit, try to do something. I mean, we did that a couple of times, because it was a guy who had like 5 or 6 bars. We weren't afraid of them. We had 60. We had a lot. We had a lot of guys working for us. So
they didn't try you. They didn't try to do
anything. They would, but I would just tell them, you try to come back, you're going to be in the dumpster with these machines. That's just how I put it. And I had Rob standing behind me, and they, and I'm not proud of it, but I carried a piece back then, and it was just kind of how it was. I mean,
mm-hmm.
I'm not proud of those things, and that's kind of why I got out, because I got sucked into this criminal element, and I'm fortunate I got out unscathed.
Yeah.
But so anyway, we'll end with 25 grand. We put our machines in there. We'll take, if it's making, say the place is making 1,000 a week, we're each making 1,000. So we do the split, minus the payouts. The guy that bought the bar gets 1,000. We get 1,000. We'll take 500 of his 1,000 towards the 25 grand. So within a year, we got our 25 grand back, and then we got 4 years left on the contract. So we constantly try to keep these guys under contract. The good ones.
Yeah.
And then we're always out there too at night, drinking the bars, trying to get new contact, new contracts on people.
Oh, okay.
And we've actually we had like gift accounts. Like we had this one guy. I mean, we're probably making 6,000-7,000 a week. And like I said, this is in the 90s, and all the machines are doing is sitting there. It's really not a lot of labor unless they get jammed up, or you go over and clean them once in a while. So it's not like you're constantly. It's not a labor intense thing.
No.
You might go over twice a week to dump them to make sure there's not a lot of money in there, but it's not like a lot of time involved once you put them in there. So, if we had a account making like 7,000 a week, our end, we had a 5-year contract with him, and it was going to expire. So he may go shop other operators saying, hey, last time we loaned him 35 and we got it back. We're doing so well. He wants a gift. And some of these guys would say, hey, I'll just give you 30 grand right now. Sign a 5-year contract with me. Well, if that guy's making 5,000 to 7,000 a week, well, you look at it, he'll make that money in a month and a half or whatever. But see, these guys spent the money as fast as they made it. So he would find somebody saying, hey, Joe Blow's going to give me 35 grand, give me it, and I'll sign a 5-year contract. So we don't want to lose it. We'll say, we'll give you 50, because we know how much we're making there.
Yeah.
And we know, if we're making 7,000 a week, we get that 50 back pretty quick.
Right.
And then we got them for 5 more years,
Damn.
So that's kind of the 2 ways it would work. You loan somebody, or you give somebody to keep them.
So it was a long-term investment, really.
It was a long-term investment. Yeah.
Damn. So just like any other business, really. I mean, and the way you guys operate.
Yeah, but it was. But it was. I mean, and we had, if we loaned them money, we always had a lien on the liquor license or the property if they own the property. That way, we had guys sometimes that got bad on drugs or weren't paying attention to their business. We call the note in. Okay, you owe me 25 grand. Pay me.
Damn.
They couldn't pay me. We throw them out. We put somebody else in there. I mean, we had to do that a few times, because we're not going to lose our investment. And if you can't keep your bar straight, or you can't keep yourself straight, we'll give you, we'll give you one chance, probably just one chance. Straighten up. Oh, you can't do that. Yeah, we can. We'll call the note in. If you don't have the money, you're out. And it's kind of, it's like, it wasn't everybody, but some people you gotta have to treat like that.
Yeah. I mean, did you get much pushback from people, or were they pretty good at paying you guys? And
Well, we had like this one guy, like after a while in there, he would always, he was pushing all his business on me, all his stuff on me, because when he lived out of town, and when he came to town, he had girlfriends. He had all kinds of girlfriends. Now, mind you, like I said, he was 20 years older than me, so he was using me like I'm making good money, but then he started pushing all the crap on me, doing the collections and dealing with guys like we had this one guy. We're riding around one day, Janice calls, there's a break-in. And we're like, where's that? Nick's bar, in Edgewood. I'm like, Nick's bar. So we go over there and, he said, oh, somebody broke in the window in the bathroom, come in. They broke in the poker machine. They stole all the money. And, I'm thinking like, how convenient. Today's collection day. So the most money was in the machine. Oh, how come? Yeah. So we, okay, whatever, keep that lock, fix it or whatever. And all, we're kind of like, I think it was an inside job, but we're like, okay, we're just going to take his word. And like a month later, the same damn thing. Oh, Nick's bar, we got to call a break in. I'm thinking, oh man. And Sonny goes, you got to go straighten this out. I'm like, straighten out? What do you want to do? He goes, you let him know we know it's him, And so I went down there and I'm like, and now mind you, he's ripping me off too. He's ripping us off. And he said, oh, I broke in the window in the bathroom. And I go back there and I look and I said, I tell you what, I said, you need to block this window up, brick this window up, board it up. Because if somebody breaks in here again, I'm coming down here and I'm going to bust you up because I think it's an inside job. Oh, no, I never do that to you. You're good to us. I said, I don't want to hear your shit. And I said, bring a pillow here and sleep in this fucking bar until that window's fixed. Yeah. And he's like, look, and I didn't, that wasn't me. But I think that business, not everybody, but some of these guys made you be that because a lot of these guys, not the guys that we had to deal with that were always trying to screw you in some way. All they understood was that somebody being threatening to them with violence or actual violence happening to them. That's all they understood. And it was a shame because it was usually a drug or alcohol addiction problem that would put them in bad spots, and I made it clear, through Sonny, he's like, no one's going to burn us, no one's going to burn us. I don't care who they are. So that stuff was happening kind of early, and I think I tolerated, put up with that stuff because of the money and all. But as it went on, crazier things happened, which led to me like, man, this isn't going to be the life, So,
well, how many years were you in it?
I was in it from 90 to 96, almost 97. So 6 years.
Damn. Yeah. So yeah, you were in there for quite a bit. So I mean, you were working your way up.
I worked my way up. I started working with everybody, the cigarette guy, and that was the thing too. The first 3 months, I ran with everybody, the cigarette guy, and we had 110 stops for cigarettes, but not every cigarette stop had a poker machine. We had like 55 to 60 bars where we had, poker machines, jukeboxes, pool tables. But we had places like warehouses where they wanted a cigarette machine. People were smoking like crazy back then in the 90s. Yeah. Certain like banquet halls, you don't put machines. We had cigarette machines in there, 2 or 3 of them. So we had a lot of places. So I had to go around with all the guys, cigarette guy, night mechanic, day mechanic, the mover. They all had to know me. Like I said, I had to be introduced. This is one of our guys because we didn't wear uniforms. Because
nothing at all. Just
no. That's why I was carrying a piece initially. I mean, I didn't have a license for it. I had a legitimate gun. I mean, it was like legal gun, but you can't carry without a permit. I didn't get a permit to 93, but I carried it because we never knew who was going to try to jack us up. Because I had a van stolen from me once. I walked in a place and I come out, the van's gone.
Damn.
It was cool. I had $10,000 of money in the safe, drop safe, welded to the floor, and I had another $3,000 worth of cigarettes. And I went into this place for like 5 minutes, come out, and I'm looking like, did I have a van out here? I mean, it was gone. It's gone. They found it 8 hours later in it was I forget the name of the company. They went out of business, like a Marshalls or something. And it was in the back behind the Marshalls with the hole in the floor cut out where the safe was and not a cigarette in there. Wow. And I had to get in that van. I had a padlock on the door, a big padlock. And then to start it, I had a chain with a lock around the steering wheel. Then I had a kill switch. I had a kill switch hidden. And then you needed a key. Well, of course, you just break it. So within 5 minutes, they got through 2 padlocks, found the kill switch, and they got that van out of there.
Damn.
So that's the kind of shit we always were looking around for. If it wasn't the police, somebody trying to jack us up.
Yeah, because they knew that there was some money in to be made with you guys.
They waited before the end of the day. They figure I'd rather have more cash than cigarettes because all the cigarettes, have tax stamps on them and all. So
Yeah. No, I mean, so you worked your way up. I mean,
yeah,
for over that amount of time. I mean, did you become like a kind of like a manager or some shit like that?
I was basically my boss when he wasn't there.
Yeah.
So everybody, I was fan, so he went to Vegas wherever he was going, and was just leaving me to deal with stuff, So I had just deal with things as they came in. We went to meetings, like I said, these 5 guys, the main operators, like once a month or every other month they would meet uh, at a place called what the hell was that place called? I'm trying. Oh, the Golden Arm. It was called the Golden Arm. It was on York Road, named
Mhm.
after the famous quarterback Johnny Unitas. And the one guy owned that place, one of the operators, and we would meet there and talk about, you know, mostly it was like when politicians, every like once a year they would get somebody to put a bill up to say, hey, we're going to outlaw these poker machines. No more amusement only. No more. They're not arcade games. They're out. No gray area. They're out. And this particular year, we're at the meeting. I was at the meeting. Sonny was there, and Phil, the judge, was there. He's the one that kind of broke the news to us because he knew everybody in Annapolis. And he said, "Hey, they, look at that. This is it." And every year they were trying to do this on purpose. So Sonny's like, "What's it going to cost? 100 grand, 100 grand of cash this year." So they all pitched in, got them the 100 grand. They said they could spread it around, but it was like kind of two main guys in Annapolis, the state house and the Senate and the Congress side or the House side. They got most of the money, and it was like these guys would shell the money out, once a year like that for some BS, you know, uh, bill that was coming out, and then plus they were shelling out money whenever these guys had political functions, and they had a lot of them. So
Damn.
it was twofold to keep the machines legal. So like I said, our outfit was making between 50 and 60,000 a week. Joe's outfit was making between 150 to 200,000 a week, and some of these other operators are more than us. So there's a lot of cash being made. So you had to shell it out. You had to buy tickets. You had to go to these functions, and to keep these guys from one making these things illegal, and two keeping the legal slot machines out, which now they have.
Yeah, they do everywhere. I mean,
Everywhere. Now they have them everywhere. So, I mean, but they did a good job. I mean, it was a good run, when I was there, because every year they're going to be out, they're going to be out, they're going to be out. But they always
never.
stopped. They always stopped it because these guys stuck together and they knew who to pay off.
And that's all it was, just a matter of paying the right guys.
Just paying them off. And my mother had said because I was 23 when I started doing that, and she's like, "You're too young to be this cynical." Because we go to these political functions, and this one guy, I don't want to mention his name because he's still a powerful guy today. He's in the U.S. Congress, but it was his first function. He was running for a lower level job, and Sonny gives me 10 grand, put in my coat pocket, and he goes, "You'll know you'll know who to give it to. I'll just nod at you." So we go to this function. Phil's there. We introduces me to this guy running for office, Sonny, and then his handler says, "Hey, Paul, come over here. Come this way." Well. And we go around the corner, and I think it was an empty banquet room, and I just give him the envelope, the money. He puts it in his thing. I go back in. They nod. He got the 10 grand. Was it a bribe? Was it a payoff? They always called it. I don't care how much money we gave them. It was a campaign donation.
Oh, that's what they call
Yeah.
it.
Oh, yeah.
Campaign
I mean,
donation.
if it made him sleep good at night, great. And we would be talking to these guys, and I've talked to future mayors, future city council presidents, future state senators, state house people, and even future people that were in the U.S. Congress. These are people I was talking to and schmoozing with, and you talk to this one guy in particular. He's the girls, women come over. Oh, Senator so and so, local senator, this and that. Oh, you're so great. And then as soon as they leave, oh, I'd like to grab that snatch. I mean, they're like,
Oh,
I mean, it was like because they felt that comfortable around me.
yeah,
They maybe not know my name, Paul. They knew I was with Sonny, and
right.
that we had money. But when they were in our little group, I mean, a lot of these guys, they were fucking scumbags. I mean, not all of them, but they were like they could turn it on and off. And I'm thinking like, and then you wonder why people go to the U.S. Congress. They go in there and they're all multimillionaires. They're all multimillionaires. I mean, You went in there, you had a job making 50 grand a year. Now you got $20 million in the bank. It's
It's
just
insane.
it makes you cynical. But I saw it on the local level. It goes on, and it goes on nationally. So it's just more money.
Yeah.
They
I
hide it
mean,
better. Some of them hide it better now.
yeah. You needed them and they needed you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You give them money.
Yeah.
Your donations and stuff. And
Political donation. Yeah.
political donation.
In a bag.
Yeah. Discreetly.
Yeah, discreetly. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So, I mean, you just kept. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like he really did trust you because he would get you involved with all these political people and
Yeah.
not just anyone, right? I mean, the guys underneath, were they aware of any of that going on?
The guys underneath, the guys around the cigarette route and the mechanics and we had like people we subbed that we had people that worked on electronics that they all knew the deal. The people that worked under us, they knew there's a lot of money, but they don't know particulars. They don't know amounts. Like I knew every bar I collected, it was a different deal: 60-40, 50-50, 45-65. Maybe he had a note with us, maybe he didn't. It was different. Every account so you had to know who you're dealing with, and you had to know what the deal was going to be. And then we always went super early in the morning because we wanted to go before people were stirring and walking around to avoid getting robbed. Because I mean, we had people trying to rob us, and but we had to be careful. Other than looking out for cops, we're looking out for people trying to stick us up.
I mean, what about internally? I mean, do you think everything was smooth with you and your guys, or were they trying to rob? Or
I mean, everybody would try to scam. If you could scam, like a lot of the guys, like whenever we moved equipment around, when I worked with Rob, when I was just moving equipment, the guys would go over. The collectors was Sonny and Ira, but then eventually me, I was collecting too. But when I was just running with Rob, they would say, "We'll call you when we clean the place out," meaning we're taking all the money out because they don't want us moving the equipment around with any money in it. So they call us up, we go over and move the equipment, and sometimes, you have like a Pac-Man machine because we have, all kinds of arcade stuff too. So say we're switching out the poker machines, and then we move a Pac-Man machine, putting something else in there, and we tip it up, and you hear coins like in the bottom, and sometimes, it was, so Rob's looking at me like, oh Christ, I'm family. I said, dude, you do what you normally do. I'm not just going to say anything because this was like a payday for Rob. So he, had like a wood base where the buckets at where the coins would go in, but there was like a little crack where quarters could roll down occasionally. So there's like $90 in quarters in there, that occurred probably over a year. To him, it was like a home run. And he goes, you want some of this? I said, buy me a soda. And
buy me a soda.
I said, if Ira said it was cleaned out, it was cleaned out.
And that's it.
I'm not gonna. That was his like little bonus or whatever. So I didn't. Like I wasn't gonna rat on him or anything like that. But he was like worried. I'm like, dude, it's what is $100? I don't give a shit. Do what you normally do.
Yeah. What about with you and Sonny? I mean, how was your relationship throughout all these years?
It was. Haven't talked to him since '96.
Well, I mean, between when you're active with
him.
him.
When I'm working, it was good until he was started doing drugs, and he was just acting weird. And when I told him I was doing all the collections, I was doing everything, dealing with people, and I started noticing these Crown Vics. Like I lived in an apartment at the time, me and my wife. And I started noticing Crown Vics outside of my apartment. I'm like, okay, maybe there's a off-duty cop lives here or whatever, but there's always somebody in it. And it wasn't directly out in front of my apartment. It was like up the street. And then as I went to some accounts, 5 o'clock in the morning, there's Crown Vics sitting out in front of these, down the street, some of these accounts.
Mm-hmm.
And I would always, when I went early, I always would drive around, just make sure nobody's hiding behind a dumpster, to stick me up or hit me in the head or something. I was always cautious. I mean, you had to be cautious. So I started noticing them, and about a month and a half, I told Sonny, he would come in, he'd do his little thing during the week. He'd go home and be the good father and husband on the weekend. He was a wild man during the week, Sometimes he'd show up, sometimes he wanted, but he would show up when he needed to get, he'd get squared away. And this is after we had split. Well, we had split from his partner at that point, his other partner, they split up. But I should go back to why we split.
Yeah, no,
Can I
go
go
ahead.
back? Can I
Yeah, yeah,
backtrack to that?
yeah, yeah.
It's
Yeah, let's
kind
hear
of
it.
so. Two things happen. Uh, we were at this one account one night, and uh, it was it was a good place, good place we had. So this guy Richie owned it was a nightclub. We were making like 10,000 a week there,
Damn.
and he had my. It was what I mean. Not all the places were like that. Some places you made $300 a week. Like might be a little
Mhm.
convenience store.
Yeah.
We're making 300 to them. $300 was a lot because they had
Mhm.
this little tiny convenience. So it kind of like helped them, and we're making a couple bucks. Some you made 700. This account we made like 10,000 a week.
Sure.
So this guy was having these after hour parties. The nightclub had a back bar as big as a. I owned a bar, eventually at 93 for 23 years, but his back bar was as big as my bar, and this
Mhm.
was his back bar. So he was having these after hours parties back there. And he called me like 3 o'clock in the morning. He's the only place to have my home phone number because there's no cell phones or we had pagers, but no cell phones back then. He's like, I need a dump. I need a dump because he'd have these. This guy would have the drug dealers over there, the guys who did numbers. He had them all in there after hours. And
Yeah.
this guy was Richie Stump, and he was a character. He stuttered all the time. Sonny would call him Stutterfuck, and I'm like, I felt bad for him. I felt bad for him because I had a stuttering problem when I was younger.
Oh.
But eventually, I found out it was because the man did so much coke. It wasn't, and he always had shorts on, flip flops, a Hawaiian shirt. I don't give a shit. It was 10 feet of snow outside because he was always hopped up, and he was just
Yeah.
hopped up all the time. So I get a call to go over there. 4 o'clock in the morning, I get there. The back door. I'm knocking on the back door. I hear this music playing. I mean, it's loud. Bar's supposed to close it too. Doors open. So I pull the steel door up. I'm like, what the hell? It's like Caligula in there. You know, girls, he had prostitutes in there. I mean, guys are playing the machine, get blowjobs or they're playing the machine. This guy's banging this girl on the pool table. There's coke all over the bar. And I'm thinking, like, holy. So I locked up both the door and I'm like, get these people out. I'm like, get them out of the way I'm going to get the hell out of here. So what a dump is, you dump he's out of money. He's keeping these guys in there. He's loaning money or they're writing checks to get money. And they went through every dime he had in the place. So he needed more money. So we come in, we collect all the money out of the machines, we dump it. It was like 5,000 or 6,000. And so I count it, give it to him, and he starts using it again, the cash checks and loan money to keep these guys there. And it happened a couple of times, and I guess the second or third time I went over there, I was pissed because I told him to get that door, lock that door, or put a peephole in there. And he didn't listen. I jacked him up, and I grabbed him and jacked him up in his office, pushed him against the wall so hard, like his shoulders and his head was impressed in the wall, like bang.
Yeah.
And he stopped stuttering for a minute. I mean, I'm like, dude, he's like, oh, I said, you can't keep, don't tell. I said, yeah, I got to tell Sonny. But the catch was when I said something to Sonny, we knew that's why we're making so much money because he's got the girls, the coke, he's keeping all these guys in there. So Sonny's like, I'm going to put you in there with him. I said, bullshit. I'm not going in there with him. He wanted me to babysit him. I'll give you a piece. And this guy owed us $100,000. I mean, we're making it back real fast, but we're wondering this guy's going to get this place closed down. I said, there's no way, man. He goes, yeah, you're going in there with him, brother. You got to keep. I said, we need to think about this. But thank God within 3 weeks, this guy, Paul Monk, comes out of the blue. Dickie knew him, and he said, hey, I want to buy in and maybe want to buy this joint down the street. And we find out the guy owns an insurance company. He's a legitimate businessman, always has like slacks, a nice shirt on, talks nice, carries a briefcase. We're thinking, okay, we checked him out. And they want to buy this bar down the street called Clayton's about a mile away. And the reason is because they had so many guys lined up to play in this bar at night. The guys were standing there with their hands in their pocket because these guys were like sick gamblers, sick,
Yeah.
compulsive. So they figured, hey, we'll buy the bar down the street and we'll shuttle some of this down there, And for a couple months, it worked out. We're making 10 here, 5 down there, 15,000. Paul seems to be keeping them straight. Then I find out, we get word Paul's dealing heavy coke. I'm like, oh my God, this is like letting the fox in the hen house because Dick's got Richie's got a problem. So Sonny's like, go, you got to get this worked out. You got to, straighten this. I said, I'm like, what do you want me to do? This is starting, what do you want me to do? We know that's why they're staying in there playing all night, He goes, you got to say something. So I went over and told Paul, I said, hey, I hear you dealing a lot of coke. He's like, oh man, that's not around here, this and that. He goes, that's why we're keeping all these guys here gambling at night, this and that. And I said, dude, man, I said, you're on the hook for, you guys are on the hook for 100 grand with us. This shit gets you closed up and we'll be out of business. We'll be out that money. They'll auction all this stuff off. I said, you can't, and he's like, well, that's how these guys are in her plan. I said, I get it. That's how it's doing it. And I said, just limit the shit you're keeping in here. I said, keep the doors locked. I mean, we don't want to, we got a good thing going our end, don't ruin this, So they were still doing stuff, but then it was like, I got a call 3:00 in the morning. It was like a few weeks later, or maybe a month later, that Richie called me, and I answered the phone. He said, Paul got killed. Paul got murdered.
Damn.
And I said, oh shit. He goes, can you get over here with your stuff? Because I had a 38 Glock, I had a 20 gauge shotgun. So that's like one of these nights I tell my wife, don't answer the phone, don't go to the door, because we didn't know if somebody was coming after us, because Sonny was starting to step on toes. And we find out, he got whacked. He got whacked leaving the other bar. And it still to this day, it hasn't been solved. They think it was a professional hit. And we find out later on that he dealt coke in New Jersey, and he had to leave the state of New Jersey because his girlfriend overdosed on his stuff. Went to court. He didn't get charged, but this girlfriend's dad was a connected guy with a New Jersey outfit, and he swore in court that he'd get even. 5 years later, he got even. So that was the first thing that started all this stuff with me and Ira and him. The second thing was we're back there at that club 6 months later, like nothing happened. And he gets wind that Sonny was a gambler himself. He gets wind there's this after-hour gambling parlor. So he says, hop my car, we're going for a ride. I would never know what I'm getting into with him anymore. Like, what are you going to get me into,
Yeah.
So we go to this garage on Bel Air Road, and it's a little stinking garage. But there's a, Jaguar there, a Chrysler, BMWs. I'm thinking like, this guy must do good work, but it looks like a shithole. I said, what are we doing here? He goes, we're going upstairs. They had a metal steps, went up the side of the place. And we knock on the door, and this guy with a gun in his holster, who are you? Just like open the door, standing there. And he's like, rolling. All right, come in. We go in there. It's like Little Vegas, roulette wheel, blackjack, poker, girls walking around half naked with drinks, cigar thing in the back. It was a legal gambling operation at the top of this garage. So Sonny gave me $25,000 to carry. He had 5 on himself. So he's gambling. I'm giving, give me another stack. Boom, boom, boom. So like 4:00 in the morning comes, he goes, hit me again. So I give him I said, dude, I got to get the hell out of here. It's going on 5:00. My wife's going to give me shit. I can't. He said, oh man, you're with me, brother. Everything's fine. I said, that shit's starting to wear. My wife, coming home at 5:00 in the morning, she ain't going to tolerate that shit all the time.
Yeah. No.
So I get out of there, get a ride, go home. My wife gave me grief. Then I start napping off. He calls me, hey, go do his collections. I do his collections that day. Go to meet him. He's like, I fucked up. I said, what? We meet at a diner. He goes, I fucked up. I lost 30 grand. I'm like, no shit. I had 25 of it before. He goes, no, I borrowed 30 from the house. I owe 30 grand. I spent 60 grand last night.
Jeez.
I said, we got to pay these guys because, Roland was Roland's game, but there's these 2 Italians in there that were bankrolling the place. And we didn't know him. And he's like, fuck him. I ain't going to pay him. I said, you're not going to pay him. I said, this might stir up some shit. We don't know who these guys are. So he said, fuck him. So the next day, he tells me, make sure you bring your shit. My shotgun. I'm thinking, he goes, I'm not paying him. We're going to take care of it. I'm like, we're going to take care of it. So we go to the office. Janice is saying these 2 guys are calling, making threats, saying you owe money and all. So when we get to the office, he locks his car in the garage. He never put it in the garage before. He hid his car in the garage. So Ira's like, what's going on? These guys are calling you on money. He's like, fuck him, I'm not paying him. And Ira says, look, they said they're coming here. You better call them, say you're not paying them, or give them money or something. Don't bring it here. He was right. Don't bring it here. I had nothing to do with it. So the door, you couldn't get in that shop. It was secure, that steel door. It had a little window with a shield on it, and you had to get buzzed in. I mean, you couldn't get in there unless you went through the steel door. So Sonny's like, don't answer the phone, don't answer the door. So Janice says, oh, the mail lady. So I was like, yeah, let her in. So she hit. Sonny's in his office. His office was a counting room, the safes, and we kept all the money in it at a solid door. It was secure. And Ira had like a regular office, and I'm sitting behind the door, his door, the shop door by Ira's office, and she opens the door. The mail lady comes in. These 2 big guys are coming in right behind him. I hear all this commotion. Like, And then I'm like, oh shit. And they're like, where's Sonny? Where's Sonny? So Ira yells, I'm behind this door listening. Ira yells, oh, Janice already says he's in his office. He's like, oh, I got this, Janice, sit down. He's not here. What do you want? Come back. Well, you know, he was playing whatever. He owes us 30 grand yesterday. He never paid us. So today he owes us 35. So, and I was like, I have nothing to do with that. You know, I can hear, you know, he's like, I have nothing to do with that. You got to see Sonny. They're like, no, you don't understand. We're here to collect $35,000 from Sonny. We're getting it from you. He's like, I have nothing to do with it. They said, you didn't understand. You didn't hear us. We're collecting 35 today. You know, so Ira must have stood up and said, because I heard him say, what are you going to do? This is 1993. What are you going to do? Then all fucking hell broke loose. They're fucking on him. Bang, bang, bang. And he's like, I can hear him like hollering because they're on him. They're beating him. And I'm standing back there. I'm nervous as shit. I got my fucking 20 gauge. And I didn't hear Sonny open his door. He's in his secure office. So I said, I can't let Ira get fucked up. I mean, they're fucking him up. So I fucking pushed that door open. I swung that shotgun around. I cocked it and let them know it was loaded. The shell popped out. And they stood up. You know, they got off him because he was pinned down. Boom, boom, boom. He's like a turtle. And they're like, what the fuck are you going to do? And I said, I was nervous. I said, I didn't want to fucking kill anybody. You know what I mean? Over this shit.
Yeah.
I said, but I wasn't going to let Ira get beat up. I mean, they were beating him up. And I said, take one step and you'll find out. And I said, don't try me. And they just stood there and they went like this. We'll be seeing you later. And they backed up out of there.
Damn.
So Sonny comes out of his office at that point. This was like the iceberg with the split with them and almost with me. I should have split then. So he comes out of his office. Oh man, thank you, Paul. You saved the day. I said, save the day. I said, these fuckers are gonna come back and kill me. I said, they're probably gonna kill you. I said, they're probably gonna kill you. We don't know who these guys are. We don't know if they're connected. So he said, I'll straighten it out. So we knew people, we knew police and all. So he gets on the phone, calls Phil, the judge, gets a hold of the precinct commander out there where that garage was. And we were told, you know, tonight they weren't coming back till like 4:00. Their party started at 7. So they're probably going to come back the next day if we didn't do something. So we got word, hey, go over there 8:00, payphone, say you heard gunshots coming from that second floor. From payphone, you can't track, you know. So he's looking at me like that was my job. So I had to go over there, make the phone call. I hung back. They come over there, busted the place up, locked everybody up. And these guys had a history, and I think they had weapons on them. So these guys got locked up, and they got sent away pretty quick. I mean, because like I said, Sonny had paid somebody to do this, you know, to get these guys out of there. But then the other problem was we didn't know if these guys were connected or not. But we had a guy that we knew who was a big bookmaker in Baltimore County, the biggest guy ever in Baltimore County. He wouldn't take any bet for less than $500. And Sonny would bet multiple games with this guy all the time. His name was Johnny Polano. He bought this sub shop on Hartford Road just to launder money, but his son was such a good cook. He got awards, and he didn't buy it to be busy. He bought it to launder money, but he was a character. He always was a clean apron, silk shirt, pants, gold, not one spot on his apron. So it was like 3 or 4 days later. He goes, we need to go see Johnny Polano and find out about these guys. If these guys are, because this Polano was associated with a New Jersey outfit, because these guys come once a month in a black sedan, Jersey Pates. They did their thing, whatever it was. I didn't know. We didn't know. So we knew he was connected. He was an associate. So I go over there like 4 days later, and I'm sitting there having lunch. And he comes over, standing over the table, looking at me, smiling, like, yeah, I'm like, yeah, can I help you? He's like, I heard everything. I know what's going on. I said, you heard everything? What are you talking about? He's like, I heard 2 Italian guys come in there. Yeah, I heard all. And he goes, they're not anybody that I know or anybody we know. They're nobody. They're just 2 guys that were trying to move in on their own, and place. They're Italian. I'm Italian, so everybody's assuming they're connected. He said they weren't connected with anybody that he knew. They were kind of like they're on their own. They're just trying to get a foothold in something. So he says, you're lucky. And I said, well, better be lucky than dead. And that was the end of the partnership with them guys, because then they split. And then I was ready to bail too. And then he's like, he would always promise me something. Oh man, hang on around one more year, whatever. I'll turn everything over to you. That's all yours. I'll give it to you. So there's always a catch or a hitch to try to keep me there, and it worked. I mean, I hung around. So,
well, what was your end? I mean, where did it end with you?
Well, it ended when we found out the feds in 94, 95, by mistake, they were tapping our phones. He got a letter he went home. He would go home. Yeah. He went home. He would go to home on the weekends to check his mail. And he got a letter from it was like CMP Telephone Company. And the phone company said, the feds have no longer requested any more taps on your phone. His lawyer said, you never should have got that.
No, hell no.
And the lawyer said, if they were tapping your phone, you're really only home on the weekends. They're tapping anybody you talk to, my house phone, my bar phone, or shop phone. So and I said, he's like, the Crown Vics. I said, yeah, that the Crown Vics. So after almost a year went by, nothing happened. Things died down. Our falling out was, he's like, he knows something's going to happen. He knows it, but so much time elapsed, nothing's happened. So he goes, I'm ready to get out. And I'm like, okay, what do you want to do? He goes, you want everything? I said, it depends on what's, the deal, Now, mind you, I'm thinking, you promised me you're just going to give it all to me. It's yours for all the shit you've done for me.
Yeah.
But I bought the bar in 93, and this is 95, 96. Just preempting something was going to go sour, and I wanted something of my own,
Right.
And he's like, oh, just give me $200,000, and over a period of time, and you can have it all. And I'm like, you motherfucker, I said, I'm thinking like, you told me you're going to give it to me. I ain't buying shit. Yeah, nah, it ain't going to happen. And then he stopped talking. I'm working for him running things. He stopped talking. He would leave me notes. Excuse me. Do this, do that. I'm like, this is crazy. He won't talk to me. And then I get wind. He's trying to piece it off. He's meeting the other operators. I'm not going. He didn't want me there because he's piecing off. He's selling off the bars, the contracted bars. So I go to the shop one day, and there's a note there. Sign this, and it's a 5-year vending agreement with him, with his company. So he's trying to piece my bar off as one of his accounts. Yeah, in a way, I was his account, but I never signed a contract with him, nor I was going to go with any operator. So I ripped it up. I was pissed. I ripped it up, threw my keys on the desk, took the key, locked the door, and threw it through the mailbox. Excuse me. He called up my wife. He got to the shop, called my wife up, cussing her out, yelling and screaming. And I was getting pissed. I was like, man, I get on the phone. I said, you don't talk to my wife like that. She has nothing to do with this. It's between me and you. He's like, you motherfucker, all I've done for you. I said, you loaned me $25,000 when I bought the bar. I paid you back. You loaned drug addicts $100,000 who I had to babysit. He's all I've done for you. I said, hey, I did a lot for you. Don't even go there. Things I can't talk about. So, well, come over here. We got to straighten this out. My machines are in there. Da, 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 da. And you're fucking me over with this, me selling my stuff, because my account was doing pretty good. I was making $3,000. I was splitting $6,000 a week. He was getting $3,000. So the $3,000 over time, that added to the price of what he was selling. But it would also hinder it too if you didn't have it in the bundle he was trying to sell. So I went over there and I prepared. I had my revolver in my pocket when I went over there because I knew he had a federal fraud charge years prior, so I knew he couldn't illegally have a handgun. But I knew he had an M1911A1 that he kept in a drawer in the office. So I went over there and I had my hand the whole time, and he's yelling and screaming. I said, "Dude, you need to fucking calm down. We're not gonna work any of this shit out." Be yelling, "That's my equipment in there, and you owe me this and all." And that same thing, dude. I paid you back $25,000. What do you want for the machines? I'll give you $25,000, $25,000 for the machines, equipment. I'll give you $20,000 for whatever for per diem because you're losing business. I said, that's the best you're going to get. I said, fucking take it or leave it. You're not getting anything else. Then he's like, I got shit on you. I could sell things, this and that. And I said, hey, man, everything you got on me, it's all part of you. I didn't do the shit on my own.
Right.
So he was thinking about that. He's like, well, you can't watch your bar all the time, 24/7. Because we would send people to smash places up we had problems with. We had guys that do that. He's like, I'll come down there. I'll have people go down there. And then that set me off, him threatening me, because you never know what's going to happen to you. I said, oh. I said, I tell you what. I said, I'll tell you what's going to happen. I said, I'm going to send you the money that I agreed to for the equipment and the per diem. I said, I'll get you that money. And I said, motherfucker, you get more to lose than I do. And I said, hear this click in my pocket. The guy, I cocked that 38 in my pocket. I made sure he heard it. He went white. He was a golfer. He fucking went white. He knew I had my revolver in my pocket. And I said, if anybody comes at me, if I see anybody following me, anybody threatens me, my fucking window gets knocked out, I said, you're not going to be around to take care of your family. I didn't say anything. And I said, this is the last time we're talking. It's 1996, the end of 96. And I just backed out of the office. That's the last time we spoke. And the reason it ended like that, I don't like being threatened, and he put me in bad situations. I mean, the feds, the feds, eventually called me. They called me up later on. They called me up twice, and I was threatened to be drugged before a grand jury because this thing drug on for a while, this investigation. But, when a lot of this stuff was going on, he was godfather of my oldest son. And my son was 3. My son doesn't remember him, never met the man. We haven't talked. I haven't talked to him since 96, since we split. Wow. And I went home after like the Paul Monk got whacked. I mean, he calls me. I had like PTSD. I slept with my revolver in my pillow for years because I didn't know what was going on. And I looked at my son. I'm thinking like, I've been lucky, and I don't need to go to jail. I don't need to get stabbed. I don't need to get shot. And I want to be here for my family. And it's not at that point, it was like, it's not about money. It's not about money. It's about being here for my family, and I did crazy shit. And I'm like, and my kids never knew me like that. They knew me as this happy bar owner. They come down with the crowns and hang out with me in color books and all. And they didn't know anything about that life until I wrote a manuscript years ago. And my oldest is now 29, but when he's 14, he found it in a box and he was reading through it. He's like, is any of this stuff true? I said, well, based on some truths, it's a little bit embellished, but yeah, based on some, they didn't know anything. And they know more about it now because I'm talking about it with the book, and we wrote a pilot for a TV series. So they know more about it now. But even when I thought I was out in 96, I thought I was done with them. 2000, I'm building a house in Shrewsbury, 3,500 square foot house. I mean, I saved, and the house of my dreams. I get a phone call. It's the Agent Smith from the IRS. He called me at the apartment I was staying. He said, we need to come talk to you tomorrow, 10 o'clock. I said, what about? We can't tell you. I knew what it was about. It had to be about Sonny. And I said, 685-2022. She goes, what's that? I said, my attorney. Click. Real fast, she hung the phone up. And it wasn't even 5 minutes my phone was ringing. It's my attorney. Usually I might hear from him later in the day. Mm-hmm. But when the feds call your attorney, you pick the attorney stops what he's doing and takes the call. 5 minutes, and Sydney's like, hey, they're going to come talk to you tomorrow at 10, or they're going to drag you before a grand jury in Northern Virginia. She just told me that. He goes, what do you want to do? I said, she can come here. I'm not going to grand jury. He goes, you don't want to be on the stand. You don't want them to ask you anything and, swear, because I didn't know what they had on me because of wiretaps and following us and stuff. So they came to talk for me they showed up the next day. I didn't have them there. I knew what I was going to say, and asked me. They had canceled checks because when I gave him that money in checks because I knew how he was. Everything we had serial numbers, and he may come up with that shit like, oh, here's these serial numbers of the equipment I have in this bar. I want it back. And if I gave him cash, I'd have no proof that I paid him. So I paid him in checks. So they had these canceled checks. They had me going in and out of these accounts, back when they were watching us. And she's like, oh, you're doing this, you're doing that. I said, yeah. I said, Agent Smith, you didn't know what I was doing at those bars. Maybe I was giving them pool chalk or something, And then she's like, oh, you have 2 poker machines in your bar. It's just us talk, and we know you pay all of your regulars. I said, I'm done talking to you. You don't know what I'm not talking about the bar, my bar. I'm not incriminating myself. I answered your questions about the checks and me going in these bars, and they had me depositing for like $30,000 cash in his business account. It wasn't my money. I said it was his business account, and like $10,000 cash in his personal account. I said it wasn't mine. God knows what he said. He could have said I was giving him money. I don't know what he said. So then they leave in a huff when I closed it down. I said, anything else you want to call my attorney? They're mad they left. So I'm like, man, what the hell's going on? So 4 years go by. 4 years go by. I forgot about it. I'm working in a bar and she calls me on the phone and says, I need to come serve you. You're a material witness for the U.S. government against Sonny Warner. I said, what? This is, and she goes, where can I serve you? I'm going to serve you at 30 Berkshire Drive. That's where my house was at the time. I'm not there anymore, but I said, no. I don't want her coming to my house. I mean, I had expensive furniture and stuff. I didn't want her walking around looking at it because they look and see, you got a Ming vase there. How do you afford a Ming vase? I didn't have a Ming vase, but I said, no, agent, I'll save you. I'm here 15 hours a day. Come serve me at the bar. So I call my attorney. He's like freaking out. He goes, man, you don't want to be on. He goes, you don't know what they're going to ask you. He goes, you don't know. And I said, yeah. So I'm like uptight. And he goes, they have 30 days that use that. Once they notify you, the feds, they have 30 days to serve you pertaining to this case. I said, okay, so see what happens. So ding, 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 it's counting down. I lost like 15 pounds real quick. I need to lose weight, but it's not a good way to lose weight, working like that.
No.
And like on the 27th day, it was all over the radio, all in the paper. He copped a plea. It was 23 counts down to like 4, tax evasion, money laundering, whatever, and he ended up doing 18 months in the federal lockup. And I was on, nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. I was
nothing.
There's a reason why. I don't know. I mean, there's a reason why nothing happened. I don't know. I mean, I was lucky. It was scary. I was scared. It was a scary time because my wife was saying too. She's like, "What is going on? What And I didn't tell her a lot of this. You don't tell your wife a lot of things you're doing. Where I'm going. I was hanging out late, and I didn't want her to worry, and I didn't want her. But she knew I carried a gun and had a lot of money on me all the time. So she was worried about my safety. Yeah, but all those things early that accumulated that and our butting heads and me getting out was the best thing. Cause like I said, it wasn't like I tell my sons, even when I owned the bar, for years, when they see these videos I have out there, they're like, what? Nobody knew me like that. And that really wasn't the person I was. I was kind of turned into that in the situation,
Right.
because you can't be a pushover, like even in a bar. Like I had bartenders that were kind of timid. Like you can't be back behind a bar saying, sir, can you please refrain from using that foul language? You can't do that. You say, shut the fuck up or you're leaving.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you change, you adapt to the situation you're in. And I had to adapt, and everybody wasn't a heel, but the guys that were heels, you had to stay on top of them, And I didn't like doing the things I did, but it's like, if I didn't do it, they just keep breaking the machines, they didn't care.
Yeah, it didn't matter.
It didn't matter, it just, and
no, I mean, it's good that you were able to get out of it and change your life around and not be around that whole criminal element anymore.
Oh yeah, and like I said, I never told my kids anything about that, and they both have their own businesses, and I always, whatever they did, I supported them, and I was always like, you're anybody of authority, yes sir, no sir, and I was the same way. Even when I had encounters with the feds and the police and all, I was the same way, yes sir, no sir. I wasn't a punk. I didn't be a jerk. I didn't do any of that.
No, I mean, that's good that they didn't get involved with any of that stuff, and that they know that that's not who you really were. I mean, you really wanted to get out of that, be with your family, and
the money was intoxicating. And I think the other thing too was like when you go and these politicians are like, hey, they're coming over, and you're thinking, yeah, I'm in my 20s. You're like, wow, you're kind of like seduced in a way, It's like, man, how the hell's that guy know you? Like I'll be out somewhere and somebody, hey, how you doing? How's he know you? I'm like, oh, something I want to talk about,
No, well, I'm glad you did change your life around. You got out of that life, and you're doing different things. You got the book out. You got your YouTube channel, man.
Got YouTube, so
doing a lot of making your rounds on all the podcasts and everything.
Just recently, it's been kind of it's been an uptick. And my oldest says he's got a marketing company. He's like, Dad, nothing happens overnight. And as well too. You have you reached 10,000 not too long ago.
Yeah, and you seen that.
That's a big that's a big deal, man. When you said that, I was like, that's cool.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just you have the drive, you keep doing it. It's like like that story of the train that I think I can. I think I can go up the hill, and you just keep going, you know. So it's cool when you hit those plateaus, you know. So there's interest in what you're doing. That's cool too.
Yeah, no, I mean that's what I really want to get at is covering stories like yours, redemption stories, and I think that's what you're on the same kind of path is sharing your story and also giving motivation for people not to get involved with that.
Yeah, and then I always say, like I told you know, when I was telling Ian, I said, don't. I'll tell you here, like my mother, when I was a kid, you know, kids would knock on the door, and certain kids she wouldn't let me play with. And if they knocked on the door, the kids that she didn't want me playing with, you know, he's in the shower, he can't come out, you know, whatever, he's taking a bath, you know. And she told me when I was an adult getting involved, she goes, I think it's a bit, I don't think they're people you should be, you know. So I should have listened to her, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, as parents, you maybe you know, and I should have listened to her. And it's just I tell people, don't let the money's not everything. It's nice to have money, but if you got to worry about the money and how you're getting it, it's not worth it, you know.
No, constant worry.
It's not worth it, you know. And you know, when I had the bar and was doing that, and you know, I knew politicians would come in, judges, doctors, lawyers. I'd have parties for people, and no one, you know, it was great. Everybody, oh man, they were sad when I sold the place, you know, because that was me. That wasn't me when I was in that business. It had to be somebody else.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they really got to get to know the real you and stuff.
Yeah.
The whole thing. But no, I appreciate you coming on, Paul, and I'll be sure to include your books and your podcast in the video description. So, you got any final words you want to leave the people with?
Watch your YouTube channel, and don't hang around with bad people.
Well, on that note, we'll end right there.
What an intense life Paul lived as a poker machine enforcer. Paul has changed his life for the better. I hope his story inspires people to stay away from crime. Please subscribe to my channel for more interviews like this. Please share it with anyone that you think will enjoy this type of content. Also, please be sure to comment any key takeaways that you got from this interview. If you like this podcast, I know you'll enjoy my other podcast that I do with Salvatore Polisi, who was a former mobster in the Colombo crime family. On that podcast, we deep dive into Sal's life as a mobster. If you want to check out that podcast, it's in the same YouTube channel. Please check it out. I know you'll enjoy it. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.